Hello, it's time for another I Ching video. It's been a long while, and as always I'm making use of, and this video series is a commentary on the Magician's I Ching, which is my version of the I Ching that you can find on Amazon. I think there'll be a link in the description below. And today we're looking at hexagram number 11, which is called Tai. And Tai is it's translated in different ways in different versions of this of the text in English. It's sometimes described as harmony, but a perhaps more accurate description of it would be intercourse. Intercourse is as in the union of things, the connecting of things and bringing together of things, but also intercourse in the sense of sex. Now, what do you have in this hexagram? I'm just going to draw here. All right, so the lower trigram is heaven. That's the little marker for heaven there. Heaven, all three lines are solid. And the trigram above is the world. All three lines broken. And that's the symbol for the world there. And so this is a union of the two most important celestial trigrams. There are 8 trigrams, 8 elements, in case you haven't been watching the rest of this series so far or not familiar with the I Ching as such. Each one of them corresponds to different elements of creation. When combined in groups of 2 like this, they form hexagrams. There are 64 hexagrams, and these are an archetypal language. They're a symbolic language that can express just about everything in creation. And they're used usually for the sake of kind of divination. That's what most people think of it as. The I Ching is a kind of fortune-telling device where you ask it questions and it gives you answers, and that works. It's really good. But that's not the limit of what I Ching is about. I Ching is kind of like a programming code for reality. And these 64 hexagrams, which you can see them arranged there on the cover, the hexagrams each represent all kinds of different combinations, different possible situations that in ancient I Ching talk it said that they represent everything in the world of 10,000 things. That means everything in the possibilities of space and time. And what they really are is a guide to how to measure space and time, and then also how to master yourself within space and time, within life. And this is one of the very important hexagrams, because of course you can imagine, you got hexagram 1, which is all solid lines, hexagram 2, which is all broken lines. But this one is the union between the broken and the solid, right? The world and heaven. And you'll notice something interesting. You have heaven on the bottom and the world on the top. Now, what's that about? Well, this is kind of the having them flipped over means that they're moving towards each other. They're coming together. And so they are uniting. Heaven and the world are connecting, right? I don't know how much I need to delve into innuendo here for you to get the picture, right? But you can see parallels of this in, for example, in Indian symbolism, the union of Shiva and Shakti, right? This is tied into the ideas of Tantra, right? And it's this is a symbol that ties in with notions of things like sexual magic in Chinese alchemy and its equivalents in Middle Eastern and in Western magic and alchemy. So the image that it describes here is male and female are in intercourse with each other. The description of the text is harmony. All is as it should be. The base decline and the great and the good enters. Good luck and success. The great work, which is the mission for the superior individual, it's how you can best apply yourself when this situation is what's ruling space and time for you. It says the superior individual penetrates to the heart of all things for the sake of the great works. This is a time to focus on big things, right? On very important things. Heaven and earth are coming together. The Confucian commentary says, the high and the low are of one will. They've come together, right? Strength, that's heaven, is on the inside, that is to say below, because below in the hexagram means the inside. While softness, that is the world, is yielding and lustful. There's a historic connection to the lines of this hexagram, which I'm going to talk about when I get to line 5 here. So what do these lines, because these different lines might come up as changing lines, and those are the ones that are going to be central if you're using this for divination. Line 1 says, pull up grass and you get its roots. It's good to go ahead with plans. Progress will be swifter than expected. So what this means is that you want to deal with the beginning of things. The first line in a hexagram is the bottom line. It's always talking about the very beginning of the process. And in that beginning, what you want is to deal directly with the root of the problem, right? If you're at the beginning of things, that's the best time to change, right? To make changes happen. There's an old Chinese saying, if you want to change something, change it before it starts. Line 2, which is a central line, a ruling line of the hexagram, says, if your vision is vast, you can cross rivers even without a boat. Do not forget your friends even when far away. Avoid having your own agenda and instead serve the king, staying centered on the great work. So the message here is you have to have perspective. Line 2 is really where the whole thing starts to move. And so when it starts to move, you have to work in a way that you're not acting on your own agenda, but you're acting on the bigger picture here. This whole hexagram is about focusing on the bigger picture, not the little picture. Line 3 says the steep, this is the top of the trigram, right, of the bottom trigram, says the steep follows the flat. Don't lose heart. Persist. No error. Even if others doubt you at first, fulfill your public office. So it says keep doing what your duty demands of you, right? Keep going. This is the toughest part of what's going on. Keep going, right? Line 4 says, always ready to serve, he stays loyal in his modest place. This is the bottom of the top trigram, right? So it's a modest place. His friends will thus do likewise. So if you remain loyal, if you remain modest, if you keep working on this bigger picture and not getting out of hand, not going above yourself, then the people around you will react positively to that. And that's the core message of the 4th line. Line 5 says, and here's where we get to the story, the old king's youngest daughter is given for marriage. Happiness and good luck. Blessings come due to impartiality. And in the original Chinese, what I translate as the old king here is actually, he's mentioned by name. He's Qing Yi. And Qing Yi was the second last king of the Shang dynasty. And in historical legend, he married his daughter to a chief of one of his vassal tribes with which there was much conflict, right? The Shang had become very decadent by then. And this king was pretty clever. He stopped the possibility of a civil war by having a wedding. So a union between male and female, right? They got married and that maintained peace for one more whole generation. Now, the child of that marriage turned out to be Chief Wen, known historically as King Wen of Zhou, who was the guy who first wrote the core text of the I Ching. And he and then later his sons ended up overthrowing the by then very wicked Shang dynasty and establishing the Zhou dynasty, which was seen in Chinese history as the paragons of virtuous rulers, right? So this is not just a hexagram about intercourse, but of what comes out of that intercourse when everything is aligned correctly. Line 6, the top line, which is usually when things have gone too far, right? It says, the city walls are crumbling. This is no time to go off to war. Keep order, cut through red tape, and guard against chaos. Though this is right, you will probably face criticism. Harmony is decaying into decadence and stuckness. So harmony means that things are going great. But the 6th line, the last line at the top, that's the end of harmony, right? And what happens at the end of harmony? When everything is going great for a really long time, things become stagnant, things become decadent, right? Great times lead to weak men. And so when you have this prolonged period of prosperity, you enter into a period of decadence. And at this time, most people, like the Shang, when they fell into their decadence, will not really see that. And they'll want to just keep partying, right? And just to keep languishing in their decadence and not build the city walls. So this is a warning to you, if you get this line, that in your situation, if you realize that things are starting, they might still look good, but you know that there's no way or where to go there but down, you have to make preparations. And other people might not like what you're doing. They might accuse you of something, right? Of being a dangerous radical. But you have to act. You have to do this. Because the failing to do this is that the end of harmony will lead to decadence, will lead to stuckness, will lead to decay, and eventually will lead to ruin. So that's everything about this hexagram for the public. If you're in the Yi Fa Society, then in a couple of days you'll get the private video which elaborates further on the symbolism of this hexagram for members of the Yi Fa Society. If you like this video, please subscribe and especially check out the other videos in the Yi Fa Society playlist. And if you want to be part of the Yi Fa Society and get those other videos and more written materials and more elaborations and spiritual exercises that you can practice to cultivate virtue within yourself, then please get in touch. Thank you very much.